In 1961, the President of the United States made a cool $100,000 a year, a hefty sum for sure. But his wife, Jacqueline Kennedy, had a clothing allowance that blew that number out of the water. In her very first year as First Lady, she spent a reported $45,446 more than her husband's entire salary just on clothes. So, how did Jackie Kennedy's wardrobe become both a national obsession and a political headache? And what was the staggering cost of creating a fashion legend? It's easy to look back now and see the pearls, the pillbox hats, and the tailored suits as just fashion. But they were never just clothes. Every outfit was a calculated move in a much bigger game, a strategy to project a fresh, glamorous image of America onto the world stage. It was a strategy that cost a fortune, sparked furious debate, and cemented her place in history. And to understand the legacy, you have to follow the money. Chapter 1. The jaw-dropping numbers. Let's be clear. Spending over $145,000 on clothes in 1961 is like spending well over $1 million today. And while her husband, John F. Kennedy, famously donated his presidential salary to charity, Jackie's shopping habits became a source of media fascination and serious political anxiety. The administration knew that the optics of a First Lady spending so lavishly could backfire, especially when the press started buzzing about her taste for pricey French couture. Even before they got to the White House, her closet was a campaign issue. When one reporter accused her of spending $30,000 a year on Paris gowns, she shot back with the now famous line, "I couldn't spend that much unless I wore sable underwear." It was a brilliant, witty deflection, but behind the scenes, the Kennedys were already scrambling. They knew her style was a secret weapon, but it had to be controlled. To avoid looking out of touch, they needed a signature look that was chic, aspirational, and most importantly, American. Chapter 2. The man behind the magic, Oleg Cassini. To solve this political fashion nightmare, Jackie made a brilliant move. She hired one man to be her creative director, her personal couturier. His name was Oleg Cassini. A Russian-born, European-raised designer and friend of the Kennedy family, Cassini was tasked with crafting her entire official wardrobe. Jackie playfully called him her Secretary of Style, and from 1961 to 1963, he created over 300 outfits for her. This wasn't just about making dresses. It was about building a brand. Together, they developed the Jackie look, clean A-line shapes, simple silhouettes, and bold, solid colors that popped in photos and on the new medium of color, TV. Cassini was the architect behind some of her most memorable looks, including the fawn-colored coat she wore on Inauguration Day and the elegant inaugural ball gown that cemented her status as a fashion icon. It was a true partnership. Jackie would send Cassini sketches, notes, and fabric swatches outlining her vision for state dinners and public events. He would then bring those ideas to life, creating a wardrobe that was modern, regal, and uniquely American. He was building the image of an American queen for a democratic nation. Chapter 3. The French Connection. Despite having Cassini as her official designer, Jackie never gave up her love for European high fashion, especially French designers like Chanel and Givenchy. This was a huge political risk. A First Lady draped in foreign labels could be seen as unpatriotic, directly undermining the Kennedy administration's Buy American message. The press was watching her every move, ready to pounce. The solution was a clever behind-the-scenes workaround. Jackie worked with American dress shops like Chez Ninon, which were authorized to create official line-for-line copies of French designs. The process was brilliantly discreet. Chanel in Paris would send the approved patterns, fabric, and buttons to the New York workshop, where the suit would be assembled in the United States. This allowed Jackie to wear the styles she adored, while technically supporting American labor. The most famous example is the raspberry pink suit she wore in Dallas on November 22, 1963. While everyone assumed it was a Chanel original, it was actually assembled by Chez Ninon. It was a savvy political maneuver that let her have the best of both worlds without the political fallout. Chapter 4. The Finishing Touches. A legendary wardrobe needs legendary accessories, and for Jackie, jewelry was everything. While she owned some incredibly valuable jewels, one of her most famous pieces was a brilliant piece of costume design. Her signature triple-strand pearl necklace wasn't made of priceless natural pearls. It was a high-quality faux pearl necklace created by American designer Kenneth J. Lane. This necklace became so iconic that a nearly identical one later sold at auction for a staggering $211,500. But her collection also held pieces with deep personal meaning. A standout was the berry brooch, a cluster of ruby strawberries with diamond leaves, designed by Jean Schlumberger for Tiffany & Company. This was a personal gift from JFK, purchased just days before his inauguration in 1961 to celebrate the birth of their son, John Jr. These accessories were the final brushstrokes on a carefully painted masterpiece, a perfect blend of accessible style and untouchable glamour. Chapter 5. The Controversy and Public Reaction. The public's obsession with Jackie's style was a double-edged sword. While millions of women copied her look, the sheer cost of it all was a constant source of controversy. Newspapers breathlessly tracked her spending, painting a picture of extravagance that sometimes threatened to overshadow her official duties. With no official clothing budget for first ladies at the time, the bill fell to the family. To keep the spending from becoming a political disaster, it was reportedly her father-in-law, Joseph P. Kennedy, who stepped in to help foot the bill. This tension between admiration and criticism was the backdrop of her time in the White House. On one hand, she was praised for bringing culture and grace to Washington. On the other, she was seen by some as an elitist, completely out of touch with the lives of ordinary Americans. There was even a story that she would skimp on White House household expenses to free up money for fashion and antiques. The question was always there: was she an irresponsible spendthrift, or was this a calculated investment in America's image? Chapter 6. The Strategy Behind the Spending. In the end, Jackie Kennedy's wardrobe was never just about clothes. It was a powerful tool of soft power. At the height of the Cold War, every state visit was a performance, and her outfits were part of the script. When she visited France in 1961, her fluency in French and her chic, Givenchy-inspired style completely charmed President Charles de Gaulle and the entire country. President Kennedy even joked, "I am the man who accompanied Jacqueline Kennedy to Paris." Her trips to India and Pakistan were masterclasses in fashion diplomacy, as she wore vibrant colors that honored the local cultures and won over her hosts. She was the first lady to become a true global fashion icon, and in doing so, she projected an image of America that was youthful, sophisticated, and confident. This focus on image went far beyond her closet. It was part of her grand vision for the Kennedy era. She famously led the historical restoration of the White House, turning it from a dreary residence into a living museum of American art and history. She even hosted a televised tour of the restored rooms that was watched by 80 million people. For Jackie, both the White House restoration and her wardrobe came from the same belief, that beauty and culture weren't frivolous distractions, but essential to a nation's identity. Jacqueline Kennedy's wardrobe was just one chapter in a life full of bold strategies and iconic moments. If you enjoy uncovering the hidden stories behind the world's most fascinating figures, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into history. The story of Jackie Kennedy's wardrobe is really a story about the power of image. The money she spent was, and still is, controversial. But it's impossible to deny the return on that investment. Her style became more than just fashion. It helped define the cultural and political landscape of the 1960s, projecting an image of American elegance and power around the world. Long after she left the White House, her influence has endured, shaping fashion for decades. The Jackie look is still the gold standard for timeless elegance. Her clothes weren't just things she wore. They were tools she used to build a legend. And in the end, that investment didn't just pay off. It made her an eternal icon.